You're sitting alone. No texts, no plans, just scrolling. And suddenly, it hits you. That heavy feeling. I'm so lonely. But here's the question. Are you actually lonely or just bored? Because the difference changes everything. We confuse boredom with loneliness all the time. Boredom is the absence of stimulation. Loneliness is the absence of connection. And while they can feel the same, they come from completely different places. So today, we're going to talk about how to tell the difference and why solving the wrong problem can keep you stuck for years.
When you're bored, your brain says, "Give me something to do." When you're lonely, your heart says, "Give me someone who gets me." But here's the trick. Sometimes we confuse the two badly. We reach for people not because we truly want connection, but because we want distraction. We crave attention not out of depth, but out of emotional hunger. And when we don't feel seen, we assume it means we're unloved, when in truth, we're just unengaged with our own path. Here's the truth nobody likes to say. You don't need a relationship. You need a direction to follow. You don't need a group chat. You need a mission that makes you forget to check your phone. You don't need constant company. You need clarity about what you're building. Because when your life has meaning, silence stops being painful. When you have purpose, solitude feels like focus, not punishment. And when you're moving towards something real, you stop chasing people who are going nowhere. Before you say "I'm lonely," ask yourself, are you truly lacking connection or just drifting without a destination? Because one of those can be solved today. The constant feeling of solitude is a false craving that was created by boredom. When you're bored, your mind doesn't seek meaning, it seeks relief. That's why in those quiet, unoccupied moments, it reaches for the most familiar sources of quick stimulation, that toxic ex who once gave you highs and lows, that dating app that offers instant validation, that friend who doesn't uplift you but at least answers. Not because these people add value to your life, but because they distract you from the discomfort of stillness. But here's the catch. Craving is not connection. Reaching out in boredom isn't about love or depth or even loneliness. It's your nervous system grasping for a dopamine spike, for anything to break the silence and make you feel something. And each time you chase someone just to escape your own restlessness, you end up more disconnected, more disappointed, and more dependent on temporary fixes. The truth is, boredom is often a signal. Not that you need someone, but that you need movement, purpose, and presence. Learn to pause, to sit with the itch, to redirect that energy into something that actually grows you. Because when you master that, you stop confusing emotional hunger for love. And that's when you finally take your power back. Once you return control over your life, it is obvious that while hungry for feelings, you were romanticizing connection. Ever notice how you suddenly crave love, attention, deep talks, right when you're lying in bed with nothing to do? No momentum, no mission, just space. That's not loneliness. That's emotional hunger caused by a lack of movement, big difference. We tend to confuse the two because they feel similar. Emptiness, restlessness, a craving for something. So we default to what's familiar. Maybe I miss her. Maybe I need someone right now. Maybe I just need to feel close to someone. But pause. Before you text her, before you scroll through old chats, before you chase a connection that always leaves you empty, ask yourself this: would I still want this if I just had an amazing workout, a real conversation with someone I respect, and a clear to-do list I'm excited about? If the answer is no, it was never about her. It was about the void you're trying to fill. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. Sometimes we reach out to people not out of affection, but out of avoidance. Avoidance of stillness, avoidance of purpose, avoidance of doing the hard, lonely work of building something that actually matters. And the more you chase temporary comfort, the longer you delay real fulfillment. So next time you feel that urge to text, call, swipe, scroll, stop and move. Move your body, move your thoughts, move toward your goals. Because often the ache you feel isn't for her, it's for progress. Loneliness fades when you're aligned. The neediness dies when you're in motion. You don't need a person, you need momentum. This is why I want to tell you why stillness is often mistaken for emptiness.
We live in a world that rewards constant noise. Scrolling, notifications, content, conversations. Our attention is constantly pulled in 100 directions, so when things get quiet, we panic. The silence feels unnatural, almost threatening. Like we're missing out, like something's wrong, like we're not enough if we're not constantly stimulated. But here's the truth most people never learn. Silence isn't the enemy. Sometimes silence is just peace. No drama, no chaos, no performance. Just space, just breath, just being. The problem is, we've been trained to fear stillness. So we fill every quiet second with apps, music, noise, people, distractions. Not because we need them, but because we're afraid of what we might feel without them. But silence has something noise never will: clarity. In silence, you hear your real thoughts. In stillness, you face your real emotions. In solitude, you meet the version of you that isn't curated for anyone else. And that's where the power is. When you can sit in stillness without reaching for a screen, when you can spend an evening alone without feeling the urge to text someone who's wrong for you, when you can be present with your own breath and not flinch from your own mind, that's when loneliness starts to lose its grip. Because loneliness isn't the absence of people, it's the absence of connection. And that connection starts with you. So no, you don't need more noise. You need permission to be quiet. Not forever, not always, but long enough to hear yourself again. Once you get a grip of yourself and feel the connection, you will know that connection actually starts with curiosity, not desperation.
If you truly feel lonely, not just bored, not just restless, but lonely, The solution isn't chasing attention. It's not texting random people at 1 a.m. hoping for a reply. It's not refreshing your feed, waiting for likes or validation. And it's definitely not trying to prove your worth to people who don't really see you. The answer is much simpler and much more powerful. Become deeply curious about others. That's it. Ask questions. Not small talk, not surface level. Real questions. What are they passionate about? What scares them? What have they been through? Learn someone's story. Give them space to open up and actually listen. Be present without trying to impress. No clever lines, no image, just presence. Because something magical happens when we stop trying to be interesting and start being interested. That's when connection starts. That's when walls drop. That's when people feel seen, and so do you. See, loneliness isn't always the absence of people. Sometimes it's the absence of depth. And you can't fake depth, but you can create it, moment by moment, question by question, silence by silence. So next time you feel that ache in your chest, don't chase people. Don't try to be enough. Just look someone in the eye and care. That's how real connection begins. And that's where loneliness starts to fade.
Feeling empty? Disconnected? Here's what to do. First, don't reach for distractions. Reach for direction. Your first instinct might be to scroll, to text, to escape. But that's just noise. It won't fix the ache. It'll just mute it for a while. Instead, do something intentional. Create something, even if it's messy. Move your body, even if you don't feel like it. Learn a new skill. Build something small. Anything that reminds you, I am not stuck. I am still capable of forward motion. Second, sit with the feeling. Don't run from it. We label every uncomfortable emotion as a problem that needs solving, fast. But not all pain means something is broken. Sometimes what you're calling loneliness is actually emotional detox. It's your nervous system coming off the high of constant stimulation. It's your body trying to remember what it feels like to just exist, without performing, without chasing, without numbing. Sit with that. Breathe through it. Let it pass without needing to escape. Third, reach out intentionally, not from neediness, but from curiosity. Don't beg for energy. Don't try to force connection just to soothe your ego. Instead, offer something. Offer presence. Offer genuine interest. Ask someone how they really are, not because you're empty, but because you're human, because you care. And the most surprising part, you're not the only one feeling this. There are millions of people out there scrolling, waiting, hoping someone reaches out first. Be that person, not for validation, but for truthful connection. So no, don't numb the feeling. Use it, redirect it, transform it. Because moments like this can either break you or build you. You decide.
You're not broken. You're not unlovable. You're not too much or not enough. You're not behind. You're not failing. And no, you're not alone. What you're feeling right now, that heaviness, that ache, that quiet confusion, it's not a flaw in you.
It's a signal, a nudge from within, telling you something needs to shift. Not because you're broken, but because you've outgrown something. A version of you, a story you've been telling yourself, a life you no longer fit into. Sometimes it looks like loneliness. Sometimes it feels like rejection. But most of the time, it's just a disconnect from your direction, your rhythm, your deeper why. And the good news is, that's something you can change. Starting today. Not all at once, not perfectly, but quietly, deliberately. By choosing to stop chasing people who don't see you. By choosing to stop explaining yourself to those committed to misunderstanding you. By choosing to stop filling your time with distractions that only leave you emptier. And instead, start showing up for yourself. Start building habits that restore your peace. Start creating a life that feels like home, even when no one else is in it. A life that doesn't depend on validation. A life rooted in your values, your energy, your pace. Because when you do that, when you stop trying to fit into places you've outgrown, you create space. And that's when the right people start to show up. Not because you chased them, but because you finally stopped running from yourself. So if no one has told you lately, you're not too late. You're not too far gone. You're just one quiet decision away from beginning again. And that's more than enough. Thanks for watching. Thank you for your attention.